14th year, on Tor Heights, the first summer fair pairing since the wars ended was held, with prizes and ribbons for the best of show. Afterwards, when the feasting ended, the crowd gathered at the wheel. It was newly made by the men and designed to outlast many lifetimes. It had 3 hardwood legs splayed out for stability and banded together at the top with hammered iron. A hammered iron ring swayed slowly in the breeze, suspended from a heavy chain fastened at the meeting point of the legs. A fresh disc of birch, about an arm span in diameter, was fastened to a pulley ring in the last link of the chain. To keep the wheel upright and allow it to spin in place, a rope tied to a bag full of sand was attached to a second pulley ring on the back of the disc. The men busied themselves adding and subtracting sand from the bag and adjusting the wheel until they were satisfied with the quality of its spin. The wooden disc, brightly painted, had an intricate center and concentric rings painted in mulberry and Seth blue. In the ring of blue, perfectly arranged around the ring, were small, whitewashed birchwood flats, each painted with a number from 1 to 30. A long table, set up in front of the wheel, was covered with a white cloth, but empty save for a mulberry bag and a blue bag at its center. At the end of the table, to the right of the wheel, sat the keeper's chair. Each of 30 sons drew a numbered tile from the mulberry bag and formed a line to the right of the wheel. In turn, each marriageable firstborn daughter, there were 43 that year, drew a tile from the bag of blue and formed a line to the left. Exactly 13 of the tiles, if you're paying attention, had to be left blank. When the wheel stopped spinning, the son with the number at the top of the wheel stepped forward, as did the daughter with that number. In accordance with time, honored tradition, they would spend no less than the next 7 days together and decide, before the leaf fall fair pairing, whether to marry or no. If the wheel chose the same number or one already paired, the dancing in pairs began. Each unpaired son chose a partner from the line of unpaired daughters. He danced with her until the music stopped and each returned to his or her line. When 7 pairs had been matched by the wheel, the flats that matched their tiles were removed from the wheel and given to the keeper. The pairing and dancing continued until all sons were paired and all numbers crossed off the keeper's list. Can you see the problem here? The 13 daughters could not be paired. Worse, many daughters were never asked to dance. The system that had worked so well with equal numbers became a woe. It was never intended to be. It had been designed, some say, in the misty years to assure early marriage and thus the survival of the people. Now watch me closely that I keep things both straight and truthful here. The pairings of the wheel were never binding, nor did they prohibit a young man's free choice of a wife, with her father's consent at times other than the fairs. The moody sons eventually married the young women of their choice. With so many to choose from, and such unequal numbers, those young women who were plainer-faced, or had poor teeth, or anything physically unattractive, or flawed, went wanting for mates. The unwanteds. They found themselves unwelcome as anything more than childminders or extra hands in the gardens and fields. Their married sisters and cousins had lives of their own. Without households to establish and organize, and feeling the sting of rejection at every turn, the young women complained and commiserated as they gathered on the riverbank to do laundry for their relatives. Many thought of leaving home. But where were the unwanted to live? They'd always done knot work at home, and every one of them was handy with a knife. They began to cut reeds by the lake margins. These they bound into mats, and mats into simple shelters. That winter they packed sheep's wool and milkweed into the walls, and huddled together around a smoky fire of hardwood from a white oak that had been split, splintered, and downed by a lightning strike. They made reed whistles and learned to create harmony as they played. From the river clay, they made pots with endless patience as they dreamed and planned for a better life. All waited for the Seth trees they had each brought with them to waken. Please click the link in the description for part 4.